Good morning, church. How you doing today? Awesome. Hey, before we jump into our final week of the series, This Is What We Do, I want to give you a heads up on what's happening next weekend. Next weekend, we're starting a brand new series called Stranger Things. Anybody hear that television show before? A couple of you guys are like, it's awesome. There's a new season coming out. Personally, never seen the show in my life, so I have no idea what it's about. But the title is awesome because we are talking about some of the stranger things from the Bible. We're going to talk about the Holy Spirit starting next week. How many of you guys have ever had a question about the Holy Spirit? You read your Bible and you're like, I don't know about that. Okay, we're going to talk about it and hopefully bring some clarity to that. So that's going to be a new series, 2-week series, and then we're going to wrap it up on first Wednesday in November. So Stranger Things is going to be pretty great. But I've got to finish this series first called This Is What We Do. Because of what God did, this is what we do. This is our response. This is our reaction to what God did. But the question is, what is this? What is this thing that we are doing? This is generosity. And we are a church that is excited about generosity. We are a church that is learning what it means to be excited about generosity. Yeah, why is that? Why is it not natural? It's just not natural to us, is it? We don't naturally go, woo, generosity, yeah. You're like, TJ, this is a trick. You've tricked me today. I understand. But isn't it true that we don't naturally lean into generosity because we think about number one first, don't we? And we don't naturally go, I'm trying to find ways to be more generous. We try to find more ways to get money for ourselves, right? That's our natural state. And the reason why we're in that natural state is because of the cycle that we find ourselves in. I want to go back to week number 1 of the series and do a quick 3-minute review with you of what we talked about week number 1. We talked about 2 different cycles. The first cycle is called the Cycle of Scarcity. And this is where we quite often find ourselves when we talk about generosity, we're like, maybe later, man. I don't know if I can do this. Because we find ourselves in a cycle of scarcity. And here's what the cycle of scarcity looks like. The first thing we do in the cycle of scarcity is when we get paid or we get some kind of financial resource, what do we do first? We consume. We have a plan for our money. We go, you know what, I'm going to take it in, and I'm going to use it for me, and I'm going to do everything I can with my money, right? And then at most of us have experienced this, and probably all of us have experienced this. Once we consume, we lack. Have you ever been there where you have more month than money? Yeah. Or like there's not enough numbers in your bank account, and you're going, well, how am I going to pay the bills this month? Like those, we've all been there, and we lack. And after we lack, what happens? We fear. We fear, oh my gosh, I don't have enough, I'm not gonna make it. So what do? The next time we get something, we consume even more. We try to get even more for ourselves. We try to bring in even more, and we consume even more, which keeps the cycle of scarcity going. Statistically speaking, 70% of Americans live in this cycle because we are living paycheck to paycheck. 70% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and we find ourselves in this cycle again and again and again and again. It's a cycle of scarcity. Now, we're talking about finances today, but I kind of want to put a side note on this. The cycle of scarcity does not just have to be financially. The cycle of scarcity, we can get trapped in this cycle in multiple areas of our life. Have you ever thought about relationships? What happens in your relationship if the first thing you do is consume, and all you do is consume? They take from the relationship and take from the relationship, get my needs met, do what I want to do, my opinion heard, those types of things. What happens? The relationship's going to lack, isn't it? And if that relationship starts to lack long enough, you're going to fear that relationship is going to go away. And as that relationship does go away, what do you do in the next one? Well, I'm not going to get hurt this time. I'm going to protect myself. I'm going to think about me in this relationship, which only pushes the cycle of scarcity further. You ever been there before? Cycle of scarcity. So what is the solution to this? How do we break out of the cycle of scarcity and get into a different cycle? How do we get out of that? Well, if you're going to take a different course, you got to start with step number 1. If the first thing we do in the cycle of scarcity is consume, we need to change that. So instead of the cycle of scarcity, today my hope is that we journey from that into the cycle of generosity, the design that God has for each and every one of us. And it starts with this. The cycle of generosity starts with giving. We don't consume first, but we give first. And it's true in every area of our life. Whether it's relationships or money, the first thing we do not think about consuming first, but we give first. And as we give, the Bible tells us that God multiplies. And as God multiplies, our faith grows. And as our faith grows, what do we do more of? Give. And it's a new cycle of generosity. And piece by piece, day by day, month by month, year by year, that cycle begins to grow in our life, and we leave the cycle of scarcity far behind. Why start a cycle that ends in fear when you could be starting a cycle that ends in faith, right? Which one do we choose? We got to, step one is choosing whether we give or we consume first. And that choice right there will lead us down the path of fear or the path of faith. And the choice is up to us. So today, what I want to do is move forward just a little bit. So that's a little bit of review for you guys. What I want to do is move forward in how we give. Like how do we put this generosity into practice? I've got 3 ways that we give, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on each one, but I believe that it'll give us an entire picture of what our giving could and should even look like. The first way that we give is give spontaneously. We give spontaneously. If you're taking notes, there's a note card that you were handed on the way in. You can write this down. We give spontaneously. And honestly, this is a great form of giving. In fact, this is probably the number one way that you give, or the way that you've given the most throughout your life. You give spontaneously. We as a church have been doing a lot of this recently. There have been hurricanes affecting Texas and our state and Puerto Rico. There's fires out west. There's people that are in need and they're hurting. So what do? We give spontaneously to meet the needs of those people. Do you agree? This is a good form of giving, isn't it? Quite often we walk into church and this is our mindset on giving. If I have something when I walk in, I'll give. I have an extra 20 this week. I'm going to drop it in the bucket as it goes by. This is spontaneous giving. And Jesus says, that's okay. Spontaneous giving is a type of giving that we do. In Luke chapter 10, he tells the story of a good Samaritan. We talked about this story a couple of weeks ago, so I'm not going to rehash the whole thing. But basically, the Samaritan is riding along the road on his donkey. He sees a man who was beaten up and left for dead. Some robbers had beaten him and taken all his possessions and left him to die on the side of the road. He gets off his donkey, bandages the wounds of this man, puts him on the donkey, takes him to an inn where he takes care of him. And he cares for this man. And then in Luke chapter 10, we read this. The next day, after he'd taken care of him, he handed the innkeeper 2 silver coins, telling him, take care of this man. If his bill runs higher than this, I'll pay you the next time I'm here. What did he do? He spontaneously gave to this man. I don't think the Good Samaritan was riding down the road looking for people to help. I don't think that's what his intention was. But when God blessed him with the opportunity, he took it. And every time God gives you an opportunity to give spontaneously, it is a blessing from God because you get to use your life to positively impact the life of someone else. When we can give spontaneously. And that is the example that Jesus gave for us through this Good Samaritan. Spontaneous giving is good giving when we give spontaneously, but it's not the only form. But today, here's what I'd like to do. I want us to learn a lesson in spontaneous giving. You guys ready for this? Okay, sure. Here's what I want to do. Today, I want you to give spontaneously. And you're going, well, how much? Spontaneously. Here's the deal. $1. Can you give $1 today? Every person here, $1. Spontaneously. It's not planned. You didn't know I was going to ask you, did you? Spontaneously. But TJ, $1's not very much. Yeah, I know. You can't even go to Starbucks for $1, can you? Like you ring up, like here's your banana. That's what you got, right? Like you can't, Starbucks, is no drink for $1, right? Like it's impossible. So $1 isn't very much. But when you give spontaneously that $1, I believe that God can do more with that $1 than you ever could by yourself. But you have to give it first. It has to be spontaneous. So here's what I want you to do. Today, at some point in the service, I want you to give $1. Maybe you don't have a physical, like actual dollar bill, because I don't carry cash, do you? That's like, it's extinct. I've never seen it in my life. I don't think it's gone, right? An actual dollar bill. It's so hard to find one of those. So if you don't have a dollar bill to drop in as it goes by, and you're like, I am not writing a check for $1. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do that. That's okay. You can go to theshortchurch.com and do your $1 right where you sit right now. You can text to give. Have you guys ever tried text to give before? 84321 is the number. That's the number you text to, 84321. And you can just put 1 as the message and send it. That's it. Register a little bit. You got to register your card the first time. But after that, your $1 is given. Or you can go to the giving station in the lobby and do $1 there. But here's what I want to do. I want us to do an experiment with generosity. An experiment with the way we give spontaneously. Because if we could give $1 today, I want to come back next week and show you what $1 can do. I want to show you what $1 can do in someone else's life. Because we don't even realize how good we got it. $1 is nothing to us, but it could mean a whole lot to somebody else, couldn't it? In fact, I believe that when we give that $1 to God, that spontaneous gift, God can do immeasurably more than we could ever ask or think. That's Ephesians chapter 3. Check this verse out. He says, now all glory to God who is able through his mighty power at work within us. Within us. God wants to work within who? Within us. He wants to work through us. And he says to accomplish infinitely more than we might ask or think. $1 is nothing to us. We can't even think of what $1 could do. But then we put it in the hands of God, and I'm gonna show you next week, it's amazing what God can do with $1. Amazing. And glory to him in the church. Who's the church? Is it a building or is it a people? It's a people, it's you. So the people of the church will glorify God as God works through the people of the church, right? Right? So when we give spontaneously, what is God trying to do? He's trying to bring glory to himself through us. And it's immeasurably more than we could ever ask or think. So that $1 to us is nothing. It's spontaneous. It's nothing. It doesn't count for much. But when we get together as a church, as a people, and we put spontaneity into effect, into our generosity, all of a sudden things begin to change. And it can do immeasurably more than we could ever ask or imagine. Isn't that good news? And then it goes on to say, and glory to God in Christ Jesus through all generations forever and ever. Amen. Amen means so be it. So be it. We give spontaneously. And I believe that giving spontaneously is so good. So I'm gonna give spontaneously for me. My wife is here, so we're gonna give $2. And we have 4 kids, so that's $6. So it's adding up in my family, all right? It's somebody came to me between services, they're like, if I go to 2 services, do I have to give $1 twice? I'm like, I don't know. How blessed do you wanna be? You know, it's just like, well, that's up to you, right? So I've been here for both services. I have to talk to my wife. Do we give 12? Do we give 6? I don't know. I think I can afford it though, right? To be spontaneous in my generosity. The second thing is this. The second way we give is we give strategically. We give strategically. In week number 1 of the series, I introduced you to this word, tithe, T-I-T-H-E, tithe. It stems from the Hebrew word ma'aser, which means 1/10 or 10%. And when we taught God's teaching, how his people have given 10%, and how Jesus continues that teaching that we should give 10% of our income back to him, or 10% of our increase to him. And of course, I know the response that many of us have. There is no way I could just give 10%. And I go, of course. I don't know a single person in my life that can just go, hey, you know what? I'm not giving 10%, and today I will. I don't know anybody can do that spontaneously, but I know everyone can do that strategically. Does that make sense? Like spontaneously, no, there's no way you could just go, hey, I'm just gonna write a check for 10% of everything I have. No, you can't do that. You actually have to plan to be able to accomplish something like that. It takes discipline and it takes work. I love how Isaiah says it. Check this out. Isaiah chapter 32, but generous people plan to do what is generous. They plan it out. And then they stand firm in their generosity. They plan. You can't accidentally find yourself going, oh, I just gave 10% to God. That is so cool. It's strategic, isn't it? You have to plan. I have to plan. As I said before, I've got a couple of kids at my house. And they need stuff, right? They need to eat and they need clothes, they need all these things. And there's times where we're tempted not to give all that we should give, but we stand firm in our generosity. A couple of years ago, Leah and I were trying to buy a house. And we submitted all of our paperwork to the bank. And they said, okay, you're pre-approved for this amount of money for a loan. And I looked at that number and I thought, that number is super high. There's no way I could afford a payment like that. But then it hit me. The bank doesn't think I'm a tither. So they think I'm making 10% more than I actually am, right? So they're approving me for my heart. And in our life, in Leah and I's life, since we started the church, we've decided that every year we're gonna increase our giving. And some years it's been like 1% increase in giving. Some years it's been like 0.1%, but you know, it's some years are leaner than others, right? You have a baby in a year, you're like, woo-wee, that's expensive, right? Like it gets more expensive. But every single year we wanted to increase. So this year we're like at 14 to 14.5%. And so as the mortgage company's going, hey, you can afford this much, we're going, I don't think so. But I could afford more if I brought it down to 10% maybe. But we had a plan in our generosity. And there's a temptation to walk away from it, isn't there? But the book of Isaiah tells us, make that plan to be generous and then stand firm in your generosity. Because there's always I was talking to someone after first service. He goes, I tried to give on Friday and there was money in my account, but my card wouldn't go through. And I tried again, there was money in my account and my card wouldn't go through. And I tried later that day and there was money in my account and the card would not go through. And he goes, I was not gonna believe the lie that God did not want me to give that day. Right? Like he was tempted. There's this reason, well, I guess God doesn't want me to give today. He goes, no. I was standing firm in my generosity. We make a plan and we stick to it. But you'll never be able to live a lifestyle of generosity without a plan. We've got to give strategically. And I know what some of you guys are thinking, TJ, in order for me to give strategically in that way, I would have to rearrange my entire life. Yes, you would. Yes. I mean, like radical financial changes, TJ, there's no way. I mean, I would have to change literally everything about my finances. Yes, you will. I mean, my life would be completely dependent on God and I would have to have faith in him for him to provide everything. It's kind of the point, isn't it? It's kind of what God's been trying to get us to do this whole time. But that's what he's calling us to do. That's what he's asking us to do, is to have complete and total dependence on him. The Apostle Paul writes a letter to the church in Corinth. And he's collecting an offering for the church in Jerusalem because the church in Jerusalem is going through a hard time. Not unlike the way we collect so that we can help people in other cities and other states who are being affected, right? So he's writing the church in Corinth on how to do this. And check this out. Now, regarding your question about the money being collected for God's people in Jerusalem, so the Jerusalem church is in need, you should follow the same procedure I gave the churches in Galatia. And then he goes on to say, on the first day of each week, you should each put aside a portion of the money you have earned, and don't wait until I get there and then try to collect it all at once. He's referencing the two types of giving that we've already talked about today, the spontaneous and the strategic. You see the spontaneous? He says, don't try to collect it all when I get there. He says, you want to give, but if you wait until I get there to give it all at once, you're not going to get to where you actually want to be. You're not going to give as much as you want to give. He says, so you have to be strategic about it. Set aside a portion each week so that when it comes time to give, you're ready to give. Does that make sense? There's a plan there. And I know a lot of us struggle with planning our finances. And you don't have to be ashamed of that. You don't have to go, TJ, I'm sorry, I'm not a math whiz. I don't know how to do all this stuff. It's okay. It's okay. See, we've got, our church, we offer a series of classes called Financial Peace University. Have you ever heard of it before? Financial Peace University. And it teaches you how to plan your money, how to write a budget, how to stay to that budget, how to have the proper insurances and how to save for a down payment, how to get out of debt, all these things. And it's so incredible to me, the number of people that go, TJ, I'm struggling in this area, but they won't take the step of faith to go to a class like Financial Peace University. Listen, we're here to help you. We're absolutely here to help you. If I talked about Financial Peace University, okay, let's put it like this. When it comes to financial peace, how many of you would describe your financial state right now as peaceful? I got like a hand and a laugh, right? Like nervous laughter all over. See, my dream for you is to have a peaceful financial state. And that's why I want you to take Financial Peace University. Now, we're not signing up today, but we will have a brand new class starting in January. So brand new year, brand new you, brand new budgets, brand new outlook on life. If you want more information about FPU, Financial Peace University, take out your Connect card and on the back of it, write FPU. And when it comes time for that class to start, we'll shoot you an email so that you have the opportunity to dive into that. Deal? Deal. See, it's okay. If you don't have the mindset that is good at writing a budget and sticking to it, have some people help you. It's okay to do that. All right. And then the third way to give is we give sacrificially. Sacrificially. Giving spontaneously is kind of fun. You see the need and you're like, yes. Giving strategically, you're like, man, I have a plan, I'm executing, there's discipline, I'm ready to go. And then there's giving sacrificially. And no matter which way you slice it, you're kind of going, that hurts. That hurts. And let me say this about giving sacrificially. You can't choose to give sacrificially. You can only ever be called to give sacrificially. It's God speaking to your heart. It's not a pastor on a stage going, hey, you need to do this. Nope. Not my job, not my role. It's you and God having a conversation and then following through from there. That's it. I have nothing to do with it. Jesus, in fact, talks about sacrificial giving. He didn't really talk about it, but we get to observe him and his disciples observing sacrificial giving. Check this out, Mark chapter 12. Jesus sat down opposite the place where the offerings were put, and he watched the crowd put their money into the temple treasury. Let me do a quick time out here. Jesus is watching the people give. Is that not awkward to you? Like, how differently would you give if Jesus was sitting next to you as you're writing your check? You're going, I'm just going to add a 0 to that one, Jesus, right? Like, it just kind of like, you know what I'm saying? But this is Jesus. He's sitting there, like, Jesus has no boundaries, does he? He's all up in your business all the time, isn't he? He is. Everything about you. He's all up in your business, and that's good. All right. So he's up in these people's business, and he gives many rich people threw in large amounts. But a poor widow came, and she put in 2 very small copper coins worth only a few cents. Calling his disciples to him, Jesus said, truly, I tell you, this poor widow has put more into the treasury than all the others. They all gave out of their wealth, but she, out of her poverty, put in everything, all she had to live on. I want you to hear something from Jesus' words. There was a group of people that gave a lot of money, and there was one person that gave a very small amount of money. And Jesus looked at these 2 groups and he said, the one who gave a very small amount of money gave more than the people who gave a lot of money. Either Jesus is really bad at math or he's talking about something different besides money, right? Because Jesus was not judging the gift by the dollar amount, but by the sacrifice. Think about that. Because Jesus does not care about the dollars, he cares about the heart. And if I'm the pastor on duty that day, my first reaction is, ma'am, come here. How much did you give? 2? Okay, let's get 4 out and give it back to you. You need this to live on. That's my reaction. That would be my gut instinct. No, she's so poor. She doesn't have anything to live on. She's probably begging the streets even to get this. Yet Jesus doesn't do that. He stands there and says nothing to her, but calls his disciples over and says, see that lady? That is how you give sacrificially. And he applauds her. Now, on the outside looking in, this kind of looks cruel, doesn't it? That Jesus himself watches someone give everything they have to own. Now she walks away destitute and in poverty, yet all he does is go, that's awesome. It seems cruel, doesn't it? But if you go down a level, you get a little deeper into the story, you begin to see something. See, Jesus looks at her sacrifice and he knows the cycle of scarcity is consume, and then we lack, and then we fear. But in this woman, he doesn't see the cycle of scarcity. He sees something else, the cycle of generosity, where she gives first, and then God multiplies, and her faith grows. How much faith would it take for her to take that step? See, Jesus wasn't applauding the gift, he was applauding the faith. He was applauding the sacrifice. And he knew that she was going to be well taken care of because she trusted in what could provide, God, not the money that could never actually provide all of her needs. But you look at it at one level, it looks mean. You look at it at another level, it's supernatural. And I think all of us have an opportunity to embrace that. It's the faith. I remember there's 2 times in my life that God has ever called me to sacrificial giving, my wife and I. 2 times, that's it, in our entire lives. And they've both happened within the last 6 years. The first one was where we would start this church. We had never started a church, obviously. There was nothing to work with. And we moved in with my in-laws. She waited tables and I cleaned pools. And we took our entire nest egg of money and we put it into this church. Gave it everything. And that was a huge sacrifice for us. Huge, because literally everything we owned was given in service to starting what God called us to do. It was sacrificial. The second time it happened was about 1.5 years later, where I'd saved up enough money. I was starting to get a little bit more financial bearing under us. I mean, we were starting to put a little money away, that kind of stuff. And we had bought a second vehicle, and I wanted to upgrade that second vehicle into something nicer. Because, I'm a pastor now. I got to look the part at least a little bit, like you can't just be driving old beater cars. You know what I'm talking about? So I decided I'm gonna upgrade a little bit. And God goes, I don't want you to upgrade. I want you to give the car away. And I said, God, that's ridiculous. Why would I do that? It doesn't make any sense. And so you can ask Leah, I tried to sell the car. I met people at McDonald's off of Craigslist. I mean, I was like, please just give me any money for this car. And they were like, no, I'm not doing it. And I'd have people say, I'll come take a look. They never show up. And I was like, okay, God, what am I supposed to do? He says, you're supposed to give the car away. And I was like, oh, geez, I don't want to, but I'll listen to you. And in both those instances, I gave sacrificially. And it was a big sacrifice both times. One was everything we had, and the other time was putting us into financial. It was making it really hard for us to exist. And both times, there was an extreme blessing with it. But it's not the blessing that you're probably thinking of. It wasn't like I gave all my money to the church and God wrote me a check for 10 grand right after that, or 20 grand or whatever. Or that I gave a car and he gave me a brand new one like the Lexus with the bow on the commercials, right? Like that didn't happen. That didn't happen. See, what happened is we sacrificed everything to start a church, and the blessing wasn't for us, it was for the hundreds of people that would commit their life to Christ over the next 6 years. And it's the marriages that have been restored, and the gospel being taught to kids on their level, and families being brought back together, and the hundreds of thousands of dollars we've been able to give to missions to spread around the world, right? And it wasn't that the Lexus showed up in my driveway after I gave a car. No. What it was a blessing for someone else, that God was thinking about that person in that moment, that they weren't alone in the world, but that God put it on someone's heart to bless them in that way. You see, sacrificial giving always leads to a blessing. But it's not always for you. That's why I say you can't choose this, only God can call you to it. It's impossible. God calls you to a sacrificial gift. And it's a blessing when he does, because he's calling you to be like his son, Jesus. Jesus walked this earth spotless, sinless, blameless, and sacrificially gave his life for us. So that he would be blessed, or so that we would be blessed? So that we would. Because he walked sinlessly and blamelessly, and we've walked anything but that, right? And he says, you know what? I'll trade you. Give me your brokenness and your hurts and your pains and your addictions and your hang-ups, and I'll trade you, and I'll give you my sinlessness and my righteousness and the purity before God. I'll trade you. And the way we're gonna trade is I'm gonna give my life on the cross, and you accept the gift. And as you accept the gift, you give me your old life, and I'll give you a new one. You see, when we give sacrificially, it's not a blessing for us, it's a blessing for someone else. And as we do that, we're actually becoming more like Christ. Isn't that beautiful? And each and every one of us have something to receive from God today, and something to give to God today. I believe that with all my heart. And for each one of us, it's going to be different. So here's what I want to do. I want you to take a moment. I want you to ask God, God, what do I give today? Now, I'm not necessarily talking dollars and cents here, all right? Every one of us has something to give God. And for many of us in this room, we've never surrendered our life to him. And today, I believe if you ask God, what's my next step? He's going to say, surrender your life to me. Surrender your heart to me. That I may take the old, broken, beat up, baggage-filled part of your life and exchange it for something beautiful and new and fresh and righteous. And I'll take that and I'll pay the price for all of that. That's the response many of us have in this room. Others who have been a Christian, you've been a Christian for a while, your next thing is, well, God, what do I do now? Do I give spontaneously? Do I give strategically? Do I give sacrificially? This is not me putting something on you. This is your conversation with God. What's his response? Go and do what he says. Now, here's what we're gonna do now. We're gonna pray. And you've talked to God, right? You're having that conversation with him. What do I do? Let's respond. So if you don't mind nobody moving around, kind of a quiet moment where you just have the Holy Spirit speak into your heart. I'm gonna pray a prayer. And I'm gonna pray with you a prayer of surrender. A prayer of what the Bible calls salvation. Where you get to give all of your life to him, and in return, he gives all the things, all the benefits, all the blessings, all the promise of the cross. This is called the gospel. And in that moment, you become a follower of Jesus. You're saved. And if you want to pray that prayer with me today, you can quietly pray this right where you are. Jesus, this morning I pray that you would take the broken parts, the hurting parts, the addicted parts, the sinful parts of my life. my whole life. I give everything to you. And today, in exchange, Lord, I receive this new life from you. I am what the Bible calls a new creation because of your sacrifice. And I receive that blessing, God. And today, as I grow closer to you, I pray that I would give everything I am, that I respond to your call the first time, every time. Thank you, Jesus. In your name we pray. And everybody says, amen.